What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. Day number 9 of Detroit Lions training camp is in the books, man. It continues to fly by. We are now through the first full week of Lions training camp, and next week they go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that's it. And one of those days are for season ticket members, and then we're on to football. We're on to preseason football. Now, I was not there at practice today, as today was for season ticket members, and I'm not a season ticket member. So these are notes that I have gathered from different sources across the internet. But the good thing is that I have been there for like the last 4 or 5 days, and I can really visualize what I'm reading, notes that I have gathered in kind of the way that I see it. So with that being said, let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back with another training camp update video, man. It is flying by. To think that this is day number 9 is crazy. Tomorrow is Detroit Lions Family Fest, which for the most part is basically a scrimmage. And yes, it is at Ford Field. I got my tickets. I'm ready to go. It is free, so just let me put it out there. If anybody does want to go to Detroit Lions Family Fest, I'm sure they still have tickets. I think you could definitely find them on the Lions website. So if you're interested, definitely check it out. I think it's at 11:30. It starts tomorrow, and you could possibly get tickets for that. If you see me there, say what's up. That's awesome. And I will have notes from that practice, so I'll have something to share with you guys, my notes from that day of Family Fest. But with that being said, these are not my notes today, but there are still a pretty good amount of things that I want to cover, from the Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson presser. It was great to hear from Ben Johnson, a couple of players, some injury updates, and a few little takeaways that we have been given across the internet. Let's dive right into it. Let's waste no time. Let's start off with the injury updates that we do have, and then we'll get into some of these notes that I have from pressers and from Detroit Lions practice. So starting off with the participation report, at the very top we have Josh Paschal. We got another little update today on Paschal. While they're not putting like a specific date on here's when he's going to be back, really didn't go into specifics with him. They did say that for where they anticipated that he would be at this moment, he is ahead of the schedule that they originally thought that he would be on, since having the hernia surgery. So I would say that's good news. I mean, to be ahead of schedule is good. They said, Josh Paschal, he's one of those guys, we have to pull him back. He gets after, we have to pull him back, but he is ahead of schedule at this point. So that's good news with Josh Paschal, man. He's a grinder. Look, he's been through a lot, just going back to his college days, the things that he has accomplished. I mean, it was huge. It was devastating when Kentucky lost him due to injury, but he battled his way back, and I expect nothing less from Josh Paschal in this situation as well. So good news there, but we still don't have any really specifics on when he will be back. Kabinda, Jerry Jacobs remain the same, as well as Romeo Quora on the PUP list. Now, we did take a guy off the NFI list today, which is non-football injury related. Fantastic news here. That is CJ Moore. For the last few days, we've been seeing CJ Moore off to the side, running around, being active, participating, but not really participating because he's not in team drills or individual drills. He's not wearing pads, but he is active off to the side. He's mimicking, defensive drills. And today, he has cleared his physical, taken off of the NFI list, and he was back with the Lions. Now, it was said, according to Tim Twentyman, that he probably would not be involved in team drills, and that's what I have heard, that he was not involved in team drills today, but he was back in terms of going through individual drills, and he did get the top reps as a personal protector on the punt team above Tracy Walker, even though Dave Phipp has put it out there that he likes Tracy Walker in this role. CJ Moore, who was that for us last season, has kind of put himself back into that position initially. So we'll see where that goes, but it's fantastic news to get CJ Moore back. Definitely a fan of CJ Moore. We saw him in very limited reps last season, but I think he showed us a lot of versatility in different ways that you can utilize him. He made a couple of splash plays in the final game against Green Bay, including an interception, which was huge. The guy can play in the box, and now it's just good to have him back, but I'm really excited to see how the safety position kind of plays out while having him back, because Brady Breeze has seemingly gotten some good reps. Iffy is kind of coming on a little bit. Yesterday he had an interception. He's looking fluid in coverage. So Iffy's kind of coming on a little bit, as he feels like his transition has been pretty smooth. And then you have, of course, Tracy Walker and Deshaun Elliott, who have kind of just been pinholed as you guys are the top two. So I'm curious to see where a guy like CJ Moore kind of falls into all of this. Of course, you have guys like Juju Hughes as well competing at that position, and Kirby Joseph. So definitely a position battle that I'm curious to see how that ends up playing out, because, went from a position that we felt very light at to all of a sudden, when we're healthy, and I know that makes sense with every position, but we do got some bodies there, all right? We got a legitimate competition, I think, going on at safety as well. Quintez Cephas, he was not in pads, but reportedly he was on the sideline today, just not in pads. James Mitchell, he continues to ramp it up in practice, and he has put it out there today that he does kind of feel the urgency because of how late he's really getting a start to this. He's just now getting involved in team drills. Ben Johnson said that he was took 7 team drill reps yesterday. Don't know how many today, but 7 yesterday. So he feels the urgency that he needs to get out there, take advantage of his opportunities, be efficient. He made a couple of plays the first day being involved in team drills yesterday. I noticed he had a touchdown grab, and there was a couple of plays that, were kind of left out there. So we'll see where that goes. But Ben Johnson did praise James Mitchell and said he's not like, most rookies. I mean, he is a very smart player. You can't really stump him in terms of being involved in the meetings and being involved in walkthroughs. Levi still out, banged up, is what Dan Campbell told us. He told us that about TJ Hockenson as well, but reportedly he was not there at practice once again today. So we're kind of in the dark on what's going on with Levi, I feel like. But I just hope every day I look at this, and, every day I go out there at practice, I just hope that Levi's going to be back today. We'll keep an eye on how that progresses. But Dan Campbell did give us some optimism. He said we were trying to just be smart with him. So hopefully it's not too serious, but we'll keep an eye on it. Ryan McCollum did not participate today, but the good news is that reportedly he was out there on the sideline, which I'm not sure if he was the last couple of days that he did not participate. And he was someone that I noticed a few days back. However, since then, he has been out. So Ryan McCollum apparently was back on the field, but he wasn't out there in pads. He was just off to the side. But they did give a lot of rest today, it sounds like. Taylor Decker, DeAndre Swift, Jeff Okudah, which you're probably maybe wondering, why Jeff Okudah, right? Because he's mixing in with Will Harris. Well, I would assume it's just because the injuries he's coming off, right? Why not give that guy a little rest? They said they have a plan. They have a vision for him. They expect him to be able to play 17 games this season, right? That's their goal. They want to shake him of this injury bug. But with that being said, it does make sense that if you're going to give some guys some rest, it's okay to give Jeff Okudah a day off because he is still recovering from a pretty significant injury that took place in week 1 last season. Julian Okwara. Now, I put the little star next to it because according to Pride of Detroit, they do wonder a little bit if this has something to do with an injury potentially with Julian because he was not out there at the beginning of practice. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Hopefully that's not the case with Julian Okwara. And then guys that were limited in practice today include Frank Ragnow, TJ Hockenson, Jayshon Cornell. Doesn't sound like any sort of injury concern. That's why they were limited like it does when they're during the season. But instead limited, meaning that they just kind of didn't take as many reps as normal. And Taylor Decker, we've seen him do that a lot. Now, some days he's actually just not participating. Frank Ragnow, I guess, mixed in there. Probably just played less reps. Same thing with TJ Hockenson. And it sounds like same thing with Jayshon Cornell, which I would say is probably a good thing, right? If Jayshon Cornell is healthy and he's getting limited reps, it probably means he's in a pretty good place right now. And he has been in a pretty good spot in the depth chart. So I would assume that's a good look for Jayshon Cornell for sure. Update, little news here on Greg Bell, the Detroit Lions running back that they ended up placing on waived injured just a few days back. So originally, if you remember, Greg Bell, I think it was day number 2 of Lions training camp, went down with the back/hip injury. It was a non-contact injury. They didn't even have pads on yet at the time when Greg Bell went down. And it was very concerning. We weren't sure when he was going to be back. It seemed like it was going to be pretty serious and they were going to be without him for a little while. So they ended up waiving him injured. And immediately after, they went out and signed running back Justin Jackson from the LA Chargers. So they already had a guy that they had their eye on. Scouts probably had him, put down as someone that they would go after if they needed a running back at any point, and that ended up being the case. So with that, Greg Bell was waived. Now, how that works is that for Greg Bell, he goes through the waiver wire, and I guess he wasn't claimed because now he is back on Detroit Lions IR. That's how it worked. If you're waived injured and you're not claimed by any team going through the circuit, which he wasn't, now you're back on Detroit Lions injury reserved. So he'll sit there for now, which means he's not really counting against the roster space, which is nice for the Lions, but they'll have a decision to make. Do they want to maintain Greg Bell or do they want to waive him on an injury settlement, right? Because, of course, if you go into the season, I believe if you go into the season on IR through all 53-man cuts, you're out for the season. You can't return during the season. I guess that's just the rule. I think that's the rule. But with that being said, you could also, of course, waive him on an injury settlement, which means you kind of just terminate the contract. He has an opportunity to go sign elsewhere. So we'll see what they do with Greg Bell. They could look to maintain him, but we'll see how this plays out with Bell and how significant the injury is, because I don't know if we really know, but they probably have a better idea than we do, but it seems like it's probably pretty serious. Also, the Lions went and added defensive assistant coach Addison Lynch. This is a guy I'm not really familiar with when he brought up the name. Most recently with the Las Vegas Raiders last season in 2021 as the assistant defensive backs coach. Before that, from 2018 to 2020, he was with the LA Chargers. And in 2018 and 2019, he was a defensive quality control coach before 2020 becoming their assistant defensive backs coach, going to Las Vegas, becoming their assistant defensive backs coach. And now he is apparently a defensive assistant for the Detroit Lions. I gotta hop back in here because the connection just hit me. Going back, looking at this, editing, it just hit me what the connection is, and it's a pretty obvious one. I should have noticed this. It's John Morton. John Morton was with the Las Vegas Raiders for the last few seasons. Addison Lynch, of course, was there for last season. He was a defensive backs assistant coach. John Morton was a senior offensive assistant for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's already been getting credit and been brought up by Dan Campbell as a guy that's really helped this offense so far. He did fantastic work everywhere he's been, whether that was with the Jets, the Las Vegas Raiders, the improvements that he's had with the quarterback position. I was trying to push that video in our last one because I'm like, man, you got to check it out. He's had a lot of success and he's done a lot of good work, and he could be a very big X factor. And I put it out there that this will be the guy that gets the talk. Like it was Ben Johnson last year, it'll be John Morton this year, and Dan Campbell brought it up. This probably has something to do with that connection. I'm sure John Morton may have brought it to their attention, as well as maybe already knowing about him a little bit, but may have brought that to his attention. Hey, this guy was really good with the Las Vegas Raiders. Someone that you should maybe reach out to that he could help us on the defensive side of the ball, as now he is a defensive assistant for the Lions. Now, when you look at the statistical side, just the basics, you do see a little bit of improvement with the Los Angeles Chargers, but it wasn't like straight up year to year, as the first year he was there was the best year. The second year was not very good. Then they bounced back in 2020 versus 2021 with the Las Vegas Raiders, allowing a 96.4 pass rating, 66% completion percentage, 29 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. However, again, he was the assistant defensive backs coach, and that was his first year there. This is a player that was a former safety back in college years back, like 2007, 2008, 2009 at Bryant University. I tried to tie it together. I really did. Tom Kennedy came from Bryant University. He was a two-sport star, lacrosse, football. The head coach that Lynch had was there for a very long time at Bryant through 2016, but I don't think there was actually an overlap with Tom Kennedy being there. So I know that's like a really big stretch to try to find that connection. And the Lions specialize in defensive backs coach, whether it's Aaron Glenn or Aubrey Pleasant. We got two fantastic guys. So I would assume he's feeling like he's in a great spot to learn from these two guys. I mean, you couldn't be in a better spot as a coach, to work with these two guys, I would think, along the league, of just two defensive backs coaches that are absolutely outstanding, and the two guys that we have and what they've done historically in the past. So the guys that they have, helped improve. So Lions add a little bit of help to that mix. And then finally, yes, Benson apparently took a big hit in practice today. He didn't see it coming, and he said it was a wake-up call after practice. He also said that Khalif might get him in a 40-yard dash, but in 100 yards, he feels like he actually may get Khalif. So I thought, that absolutely has nothing to do with what we just said, but I might as well throw it in there. They brought up Austin Bryant, which I thought was fantastic, because I know yesterday's video I put AB Shines or something. I don't remember actually what I put. Something like that. I was crediting Austin Bryant because I was like, man, Austin Bryant has, for the last couple of days, seemingly been starting to pop. I noticed him on a run stuff, the first day, and then yesterday he was all over the field making plays, and they asked him about Austin Bryant, and Dan Campbell said, man, he's all out all the time. In the last 2 or 3 days, he has really began to grow. Now, on the offensive side of things, Dan Campbell said this about Ben Johnson. He said he's very pleased with Ben. He was asked about the offense. He said, I'm very pleased with Ben. He has a good handle of what we thought we could do with Jared Goff and these weapons. Good feel on, where the offense is at this point. He still didn't announce whether or not he was going to be the play caller or Ben Johnson was, but when he was kind of asked about it, he did say, man, I think Ben Johnson's been doing a heck of a job. With that said, though, I'm sticking with the prediction. I do think it's going to end up being Ben Johnson. I get the questions out there, but every time I hear it asked, it just makes me feel more and more like it's going to be Ben Johnson. It just seems to make sense. He seems to be building a lot of trust, seems to really like what Ben Johnson has been doing. As long as the offense continues to fire on all cylinders, specifically in the pass game, where Dan Campbell credited, because we don't have pads on, it can help get that going earlier. But with that said, he has been impressed with where this offense is at in the passing game versus last season. And if that continues to be the case, which it sounds like today again it was, because yesterday was just like, to me, a wake-up call of just like, bam, here we are. Like, I've seen it. I've seen the big plays. I've seen Jared Goff pushing the ball downfield, because I was thinking back to last year's training camp, and I was like, do I remember seeing this last year? I did remember seeing big plays. I do remember seeing occasional big plays, but I don't think I remember seeing it at this efficiency. I think that's the difference. Is there's more efficiency right now with Jared Goff in this offense in terms of shot plays, how consistently they are hitting them. I think that's the major difference, and especially from guys on the outside consistently winning. Whereas last year, I think a lot of shots that still continue to be, the Hawkinsons and the St. Browns kind of, mixing in. But with that said, Khalif was a big time player in one-on-ones, but in team drills, we're really starting to see it just kind of burst onto the scene of what these outside receivers can be. The DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds, who I guess today just started off with a bang in the very first play. It was a shot on the left sideline, somehow staying in bounds. Lions put the clip up to DJ Chark. But truly, if you do think back to last year, we said it all the time that Goff historically has had a lot of success with bigger receivers. Just look at what he had at Cal. Look at the receiver group that he had and how much effectiveness he saw there. Now, I also think a part of this, Khalif Raymond working with the twos, we saw how dynamic that opened up things. I think the Lions are preparing that, look, J-Mo probably not going to be there week one. Chark, Josh, they're going to hold down the outside. So let's just let them run as the 1 and 2. And Goff is having a lot of success to these bigger receivers as he has. Back to the defense side, I thought this was an interesting note. He talked about A.J. Parker. And he said with A.J. Parker, the main reason that they have, they brought in guys that could play and compete at slot, specifically the Chase Lucas, the rookie out of Arizona State, and also the addition of Mike Hughes, the free agent signed from the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings, the young cornerback, he said was mainly due to A.J. Parker's durability. Parker, can't hit or, he can't play. He said A.J. Parker is a very smart player, and actually A.J. Parker talked about it today, that he said he put on 10 pounds of, good weight, and he said he's, kind of originally had to adapt a little bit, but he was able to do it well because of all the conditioning, so he's used to putting on those pounds, and he wants to be able to play a little more physical within the box, things like that, just add a little more weight, because, A.J. Parker was very slim last year, and that's every slot usually is, but he was very slim last season, and we have seen that Aaron Glenn in the past, he likes kind of those guys that can get up and be physical, can play against the run, and that's what they always say, their slot has to be able to do that, but he likes a guy with a little bit of power. We saw that with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and it's why I thought that Jerry Jacobs could potentially get some reps, but he's not healthy, so we don't know where that's going to go, but that's what he said about that position. However, he did say that Chase Lucas still has a little bit of a ways to go, but they still do want to see Mike Hughes compete and get some reps in this role, and it sounds like today he was rotating with Chase Lucas at the backup slot position, so it sounds like they're confident in A.J. Parker, they're just not sure about the health necessarily. And as I said in that cornerback breakdown video, I like Will Harris at corner a lot. I really do. I'm a big fan of it. But I didn't love him from slot. I just didn't love it. And look, for sure, A.J. Parker has areas to improve. His man coverage is not the best, right? That's for sure. But instinctually, his zone drops, his playmaking ability, he just has an instinctive feel for the game from the slot position. That's very obvious when you start watching him. So I can understand why, hey, we want to, if we lose him, we don't want to be in a position like last year where we're kind of scrambling and we had to put Will Harris in that spot. And depth, I think, was probably the biggest strides that we made this offseason, was adding depth everywhere across the board. And those are the biggest strides and probably going to be the most important thing to the season. How well we do the season will probably come down to how strong our depth really is. I would probably bet on that just because that's how it usually happens. He also brought up Obinna Eze. Long, he's athletic, but he needs to learn how to be a pro. Now, I will say this. I did notice with Obinna Eze the last day that I was there yesterday, I saw Obinna Eze off to the side working pads. I don't know who he had with him, actually. Somebody was, standing there with him, and he went extra by himself taking reps on the pads. So I did notice that work ethic. Okay, I was like, I see you, Obinna Eze, putting in some extra work. I love to see that. I'm really rooting for Obinna Eze. But with that said, Dan Campbell said, he needs to kind of learn that. He needs to get into NFL shape is what basically he said. And he's like, if he can do that, he's got a future with this team. Practice squad type of future is the way that he kind of made it sound, because Matt Nelson continues to be like the first backup tackle. Dan Skipper also seems like he could be above him right now. But maybe some optimistic news that maybe Obinna Eze can stick around. Oh, and just a small little note he made about the offense. And I know if you're not there, this probably doesn't make any sense. But he does say that when he blows the whistle sometimes before plays, it's because he wants tempo. He wants their guys to come out of the huddle with urgency. Now, of course, offensively, you come out with different tempos, right? Change up the defense. But I think he even said it defensively. We want them to come out and really set the tone. He brought up the Baltimore Ravens example. Every snap, the huddle, bam, there was just kind of a feel when they broke the huddle, and it was like they are setting the tone with this. And he said it really is kind of that, and that's what he wants to have this year. Is every single play consistently we come out and set the tone. And I gotta believe that there could be definitely some correlation with coming out locked in, focused. We're setting the tone. You're gonna react to what we do, okay? And you're gonna be chasing us, and that's why you want to be able to mix tempo out of the huddle. That way you can throw defenses off, but at the same time, being in that kind of rhythm could potentially help you avoid some false starts that we had last season. I would think it might. Who knows? We'll see, but it just sounds like it definitely could. Now, there's also some notes from Ben Johnson, which I have to hit on for sure. He said with Jared Goff's dunk that he would not be the top pick in a pickup basketball game. I don't know, man. No, I don't know. Maybe he's water. I don't know. But with that being said, that's not bad. Like, the goalpost, which apparently Jared Goff told him, man, he went for it and he was like, man, I didn't know it was that high. But it is 10 foot. Now, I'm not sure if that's from the bottom of the field goal post or that's from like the top, because the bar is thick, right? It's not like a basketball rim. It is 10 foot. So if you're doing that, you probably can dunk a basketball, which isn't bad, Look, I'm not going to mistake it for Calvin Johnson after doing that. I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, that kind of gave me some flashes. Like, no, I didn't. But with that being said, it was still hype. I liked it better than the finger roll, even though the finger roll was clean. I liked it better than that. Hey, maybe you should be the top pick. He's got the finger roll. He's got dunk. And randomly at the beginning of practice yesterday, they were throwing behind the back passes to each other, just messing around. Now, we speak all about this offense and, how they're working together and this and that. But he did say that they're trying to make Goff in this offense uncomfortable. He said we're trying to make him comfortable in the uncomfortable. He put new concepts on him that maybe we weren't doing back in the spring. We're trying to make him uncomfortable. That way he can handle the pressure. That way, in those big moments, he can kind of slow the heart rate down. He said he's proud right now of where Jared Goff is at within this offense. Now, they all talk about the comfortability. I thought Taylor Decker had the best, kind of like quote on the whole thing with Jared Goff. But I thought the interesting quote he brought up was when he talked about how, making mistakes, the mental errors, and he said we track every single mental error, so maybe someone's taking note of that. I'm sure someone is. We track every single mental error, and he said with that, we're kind of at a place right now where when you get more reps, you have more mental errors. So maybe we'll do some flipping of the plays and things that we're running right now, right? Flipping it, things like that, so nothing crazy. And then once we start to lower those mental errors that we're having right now, start to push on. But it's kind of having a feel of where you're at within the offense at this point. We're not throwing too much at them, but at the same time, not enough at them. So that's kind of where he seems to feel like they're at right now, if that makes any sense. Like they're still making too many mental errors. And it kind of ties into what DJ Chark said. He said DJ Chark is always telling me like, hey, I didn't do this at Jacksonville. I didn't do all this at Jacksonville because, they're getting involved in different ways. Say with the offensive line right now, we are putting them in positions where we want to see them one-on-one. We want to see who can handle, the 3-tech in a certain situation, who can handle this situation. So we want to give them the one-on-one reps. And he's like, look, during the season, we got things that we can do to try to protect and help our players a little bit if they need that help. Well, right now, we want to see the dudes that can handle it, that can win their one-on-ones. He said it's not just about evaluating where we are with our scheme. You are making a lot of cuts. You are cutting a lot of players, especially on offense, at a lot of positions. Good players are probably going to end up being cut here. So with that being said, they're still evaluating, and you want to get those opportunities of one-on-ones as well as the comfortability and the offense. But we can always do things like that to help out when we need to. Maybe we put it tight in there, the chip, and chip release, and not necessarily just take off in his route. That way we could try to slow down that edge rusher a little bit. Maybe we could slide protection in this situation. There's things that we can do. I think I'll leave it with this one. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he said, Amon-Ra is special. And the tone changed when he answered this. He said Amon-Ra is special. He said he's on a mission right now. We told him during the offseason, kind of areas that, we wanted him to improve upon. He said he took that to heart. He said with one of them, and I'm sure he gave him more than just this, but run after catch. We want him to improve upon. We want him to, knife upfield as soon as the ball is in his hands. Break tackles. Make more happen with the ball in your hands. Even though there's a lot of big plays he made with the ball in his hands last year, like a lot. I would say he was probably our best run after catch player last season, but they don't want him to just be good. They want him to be elite. And he was very good in this area. And the Lions gave him, though, a lot of opportunities to make plays after the catch. A lot of underneath crossers, drag routes. They handed him the football. They threw him screens. A lot of those quick hitters gave him opportunities, but still 20th in the league, 4.7 yards after the completion. So I think after seeing that, getting a taste of it, the Lions know they want to get the ball in his hands. And as they say, run after catch, it also can be when we hand you the football as well. We just want you to be not good, but great. Yeah, I did notice that. I saw yesterday him stand there off to the side with the jugs. He was by himself when I saw it. I don't know if anybody came over, but right there, as soon as practice ended, he was right there on the jugs. Oh, everybody sees it. I mean, it's not like I broke news to you to say Amon-Ra is special. I mean, we all know that. Now, some of the takeaways that they gave us from today's practice, again, these are not my notes, so I will give some credit as we go through this. These are just notes that I've gathered from different places. Also, let me throw in this one little quote real quick that I did see, and this was, I believe, Frank Ragnow, who said, look, Aiden Hutchinson is doing everything right. And he's sure it'll translate, as Aiden Hutchinson reportedly has been getting out there 30 minutes early, going through reps. And Frank Ragnow saying he's doing everything right on and off the field. He's sure that it will translate. So there you go. If you want any reason to, again, be even more hype about Hutchinson, start off with a bang. Apparently they hit DJ Chark on the sideline, the left sideline, and he got his feet in bounds. That connection is real. And I think it was Pride of Detroit that said making the tight window throws. And I think that is what does kind of stand out when you really think about it, the type of throws that he's making. Now, tight window, there's a lot of different ways to describe a tight window throw and whatever may pop in your head right now, but I think just in the terms of the back shoulder passes that we were seeing, simplified as much as trusting guys one-on-one, trusting his guys one-on-one, and those type of throws that he is making where it's like, look, I'm going to trust it. Aaron Rodgers does this more than pretty much any quarterback in football, throwing the back shoulder pass, making kind of an adjustment at the line, cornerback sitting on top of the route, and then you just put it on that back shoulder. It's so hard to defend, but if the chemistry is there, if you're on the same page, it is so hard to defend. And we see passes like that from Goff, right? And that's the ultimate trust, the ultimate confidence, the ultimate chemistry with your receiver to make that kind of pass where, it's not one of these things where you need to see it open. You just need to say, hey, I see my matchup. I see how his leverage is, and I'm taking that. He doesn't see me. That's where the ball's going. And that's what we've been seeing. I mean, and it's not like this is just like today, they started seeing this. We've been seeing it. Like in the past, they hit the Josh Reynolds on Okuda. Like Ben Johnson said, as he said, keep in mind, doing things to make him uncomfortable. I think at some point, sometimes, and I did this too, sometimes, you can forget it's practice and that this is about making mistakes, trying new things, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, where our guys are best suited to play, all of those things. So sometimes when a player has a bad rep and things like that, we have to, still understand that this is practice and that situation that they're putting him in, that position that they're asking him to do, we may not even do that this season, whatever it may be. I'm not just talking offense, I'm talking just as a whole. That guy may never even be asked to do that. They just may have tried him like, yeah, that did not work. Let's stay away from that. So I think that's still important. And then some win reps, you get the same thing where it's like, yeah, he may have won it here, but our guy was being asked to do this, and we're not going to ask him to do that because that's just a bad matchup. We tried it, didn't work, okay. So I think all of that can be forgotten at times, but you still have to be inspired by the offense and their ability to get over the top right now. And to come out on the first play and do that, that's not even like a rhythm. It's not like, hey, let me get in the flow a little bit. It's like, I got it, ball's going up, boom. Hey, come on, man. And I think that's going to be very important, too, to keep that confidence within Goff, and I think he will. I mean, I don't think he's going to lose that confidence because I didn't see him lose it last year. I know there's all this talk about his confidence and stuff, but if you really do watch some of the games, I mean, to go from Minnesota, you're on top, he throws a pick, makes a bad read, comes back, fumbled, which, the situation was kind of messed up, and we're down, and then go back and score a touchdown. I'm not really too concerned about it, but to just say, hey, look, yeah, we want you to push the ball, but we have to understand that there's going to be negatives that probably do come with it, but the positives can outweigh the negatives if we're taking the right risk and the right matchups here. Apparently, though, it came back, and Alex Anzalone eventually at some point had an interception on Jared Goff. He dropped in his zone. Goff didn't see it, threw a crossing route to Josh Reynolds, and Alex Anzalone was there to pick it off, and he took it back to the house. I'm a fan of Alex Anzalone. Y'all know that, my boy. Duracell. We see you, Duracell. Okay, hey, sorry. Now, I remember I told you guys this against San Francisco when I noticed who had the biggest reaction to the incomplete pass that Goff had at the end of that game. It was one Ben Johnson. Now, look who it looks like is having the biggest reaction to this. That looks like Ben Johnson. He's going to be the play caller to me. According to Pride of Detroit, they said the very next rep, so we just talk about bouncing back and things like that because, mistakes are going to happen. He throws an interception, so how do you bounce back from something like that going down? They said the very next rep, he went to Josh Reynolds on a back shoulder throw. Speaking of back shoulder, I didn't even know that's what it was. On a back shoulder throw where he adjusted to the football and made a play on A.J. Parker for a difficult catch. And multiple sources have said that Malcolm Rodriguez is getting reps with first team. He came out walkthroughs and he got reps with first team as a mic because that's what they do. They come out, they walk through, they stretch, then they do individuals, then they go to team drills. And apparently through the walkthroughs, he was getting first team reps. I see everybody saying it, but I'm pretty darn sure he was doing this before today. I mean, I could be wrong and maybe I'm just seeing things, but I some way or another, I'm pretty sure I've seen this because I've mentioned it before. He's getting reps with the ones at times. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before today, okay? So this doesn't surprise me. This isn't news to me because I'm pretty sure I've seen this. But maybe it is, and I'm just seeing things that I just believed that it would happen, and so I was seeing it, and now it actually is happening. Regardless, doesn't matter. He's repping with the ones. With that said, in team drills, sounds like he's more with the twos, at the will position, working with Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes at the mic. Remember what Dan Campbell said when they drafted him? He's going to play the mic. So it's Alex Anzalone and Chris Bohr with the ones. But there's been a constant rotation between those three, not including Malcolm Rodriguez, but the three of Barnes, Board, and Alex. I've seen that for the last few days. So there continues to be a kind of rotation there. But Malcolm working with the twos, as yesterday I saw him working with Jared Davis, made another splash play and very good play against the run. And now he's repping with the twos, it sounds like, in team drill. So he is slowly working his way up. And as we always say, just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. It's gonna happen. He's gonna be the guy in this linebacker room, and at some point in the season, we're gonna be like, he's starter. Malcolm Rodriguez is starting at off-ball linebacker. It's just going to happen. I mean, yeah, he'll probably take setbacks, things like that, because he's young, but it's going to happen, man, because the dude can play. The film is not a lie, man. He can play. Sticking kind of this tight end rotation, they said that, no Hockenson today, resting, that it was Brock Wright 1, Garrett Griffin 2. Even though I haven't really noticed Garrett Griffin in the past game, he's been playing like H-back, things like that with Kabinda out. We've seen Shane Zylstra get involved. He's flashed in different ways, not just catching the football. He's flashed in special teams drills to me. He's flashed in different areas, so we'll keep an eye on where that's at. As he said, Dan Campbell called him kind of the hybrid player that can kind of do a little bit of everything, and they want one of those guys. He never included James Mitchell when he was talking about that, because at the time, they were trying to work James Mitchell on everything. Would not be a shock to me if James Mitchell becomes that hybrid player that they're talking about, because James Mitchell is not just a blocker, right? He's not just a Garrett Griffin. If you watch James Mitchell in college, it's impressive because he will block, and while there's areas and technique to clean up, the guy is a menace with the ball in his hands. Beautiful potential number 2 tight end. But coming into the year, I think it'll probably end up being that he is that hybrid tight end that they're talking about, as long as he is healthy and if he could step up. But he understands that there's a little bit of urgency there to get going because of the time that he's missed. They also noted that Kramer was taking reps at backup center. I noted that in that clip. I never really noticed that until I saw the clip replay, and I was like, I think that's Tommy Kramer center. So the little note that I put in the clip yesterday, yes, Tommy Kramer is repping at backup center a little bit. So that's big too, because I thought Stenberg's above Kramer, but at the same time, we're seeing Kramer take reps at backup center. So versatility there is going to be very important. And the Lions feel like they have a versatile player that can play center and hold it down, not just line up at center, but actually be legitimately able to hold it down. Now, Kramer looks like he has slightly a leg up in that race. Pride of Detroit, shot to them. They gave us some updates in terms of just some, combinations today without Okuda. It was Amani and Will, so no changes there. Price and Gilbert were the number 2 corners. Even though Savion continues to flash, I'm a fan of Savion. Savion's a dark horse to make this team. He is a dark horse, but do not count him out. Don't write him off. Do not write him off. Stop it. I see you writing right now. Stop. Don't write him off. Definitely got impressed with Gilbert after last practice. This is the first time I really noticed him. And Bobby Price, I think they just like the potential there, because as he gave up big plays, man, literally, if you watch his film, if he just doesn't give up some of those big plays, there is actual legitimate upside, big time upside with the player. It's just he was very raw to it. That was a tough spot to be thrown into, and the Lions probably made the wrong call. I'm sure they'll come back and say, yeah, we made the wrong call putting him in above Jerry Jacobs. They saw that, but to say that there's not potential to be a matchup difference maker, a guy with that size, that speed, the physicalness, and every once in a while you get a rep where he jams somebody and just completely destroys the route. It's like if he can just not give up some of the big plays, and maybe another year of comfortability helps that, there's something there. This cornerback battle is awesome. They said that Jared Davis had a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage, which it sounds like it was probably on a blitz or some kind of like underneath drag or cross or something like that. And then they also said that Iffy had a pass breakup as well. Lions put out a clip of, Iffy giving up a completion to Maurice Alexander, which Maurice Alexander's name continues to pop up immediately, and he's also now getting reps at third string punt returner. So Maurice Alexander as well. I mean, he has burst onto the scene, right? There's guys that you sign and you kind of don't notice them at all. Maurice Alexander has made himself known immediately. My first impression was him dropping a pass, but since then he has flashed, catching a touchdown in the corner of the end zone yesterday. Now, you see him over the middle. You see the speed, the quickness that he brings. At his size, you'd expect that. Now getting reps at third string punt returner, which it sounds like it's legitimate reps, not just, hey, we're taking reps here, because he was a all USFL punt returner. So he's another guy to keep an eye on. The 2-minute drill that they said that took place at the end, it sounds like it was with the second unit. Yesterday was with both. They did with like every unit, but it sounds like this was with the second unit, and it was Tim Boyle. So today Tim Boyle ran with the twos. It just does not sound like they found any sort of rhythm. It actually sounds pretty awful in terms of how it went down today, but I didn't get to see it, so I don't know. Maybe he was in a better rhythm today as a whole, but it sounds like in his 2-minute drill that was not the case. They did 1:15 on the clock. They had a timeout, down 6 from their own 27. And this is, I guess, how it went down. It started off with the completion of Tom Kennedy, who made multiple receptions today. Tom Kennedy continues to be sort of just a steady option that you can throw the football to is Tom Kennedy. He had a big play on a screen, it sounds like, today as well. He made the great fade catch yesterday. He's working from the slot. He just battles, man. He's reliable. That's the thing with Kennedy, it seems like. You put it on his hands, he's catching the football. I mean, I will say that. He doesn't always, get separation, or he's not as electric all the time. Today it sounds like he had a big screen. When you put the ball in his hands, he is catching the football. And that's, as a quarterback, it's hard not to trust that. The Lions, to the point last year, just sound like all the way up to it. They're like, we can't keep him. He's not, he doesn't really have a role in special teams. But they still ultimately decided to go with him because they could trust that he would catch the football if it hit his hands. And that's what you see through camp so far. So I still think he's probably on the outside looking in if Cephas is healthy. But, look, Trinity Benson, big-time playmaker. But it's just there's still some inconsistencies there. There's still drops that are like, you got to catch that football, man. It's right in your hands. Tom Kennedy just catches seemingly everything. But it started off with a Kennedy catch, and then it came back with an incomplete pass and then 2 sacks, one from a Savion Smith cornerback blitz, which I did the same thing yesterday. Blau stepped up, avoided it. I think it was an incomplete pass, though. And then today he actually got the sack. Then James Houstin got a sack. And by the way, James Houstin was the first day I really noticed him was yesterday. He is building upon that. It sounds like he is starting to really get rolling into the drive. So they moved it up and they continued with the drive. And it went like this: incomplete pass, sack, deep incompletion, and they were done. The sack was by James Houstin again. So 2 sacks for James Houstin. I would have loved to seen those reps. Sounds like he beat the left tackle on the first one, but hey, James Houstin, he is shifty. And I think if you're a young tackle, or if you're a tackle that's in development just like he is, athletically, he could be a very big problem for you. Now, I think with some of the more polished tackles, he would struggle a little bit because, he's not the most polished pass rusher in my opinion from what I've seen just going back to college. However, with that being said, his agility, his change of direction ability, his quickness, his explosiveness, his length, if you're a tackle that has some issues with some speed rushers and you're not the most polished, like some of these backups that he may be going against, I could see how that could be a very big problem. And James Mitchell continues to flash, and like Dan Campbell said, we're just glad we have him on the roster. Yeah, we're gonna have to find a niche for him, but hey, what do we always say? Pass rushers get paid. Simple as that. You want to get paid? Be a pass rusher. They get paid. That's what it sounds like James Houstin is doing. So definitely not a great way to wrap it up by the second team offense. But those are the notes that we have from practice today. Shout out to DetroitLions.com. Shout out to Instagram. I saw some stuff on Instagram. I think Eric Schlitt, shout out to him. I think he's actually through Pride of Detroit, so shout out to them. And, I don't even remember where I got all these notes from. I just had a lot of stuff. Detroit Lions, Instagram, whatever it may be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow's Family Fest. I plan on being there. If you see me, say what's up. And at the same time, I will have notes from that. Thank you for watching. And I'm out.